Welcome to Greene Light for Justice, saving the world one case at a time.
Hello and welcome to Greene Light for Justice, saving the world one case at a time with experienced attorney Michael S. Greene. For over 30 years, Michael has aggressively represented and won cases for his clients who need an experienced lawyer for all types of accidents, personal injury, medical, and nursing home malpractice, wrongful death, and premise liability claims. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is On the Road to Justice, Legal Insights into Severe Trucking Accidents in Maryland. Michael, welcome back.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad we didn't scare you away. You made it back for episode 2.
Yeah, had a little tea and did a little yoga and
get a little yoga, little mindfulness exercises. Good for you.
Yeah.
So in your experience, what are some common causes of severe trucking accidents in Maryland? How do these factors play into your legal strategy?
Sure. Well, you have some of the causes are very similar or the same as with any other motor vehicle crash, and others are particular or unique to trucking. So you have speeding, unsafe lane changing, aggressive driving. Those can be whether it's a trucker or somebody driving a passenger vehicle. Other causes could include fatigue driving. That could also occur with individuals in passenger vehicles as well. The truckers, there are special rules that apply. So you have driving too many hours over the legal limit could cause this fatigue driving. Other causes of the truck crashes we see are improperly maintained vehicles. And these cases, again, with the truck crashes are based upon negligence. So we have to prove the negligence with part of the motor vehicle, whether it's a defect in the motor vehicle, the truck, or improperly maintained vehicle. So we have to prove these things before you get to the damages. The damages, as I've talked about in other situations, are the harms and losses by the injured person or the person who is killed and their family has these harms and losses. But before we can start talking about those kind of things, or at the same time we're talking about those harms and losses and damages, we have to think about proving the case of negligence against either the trucker or the trucking companies.
What types of injuries do you see most often when it comes to trucking accidents out there?
Oh my goodness. Once again, a lot of overlap with car crashes, but you have death, paralysis, amputations of limbs. I've seen decapitations. It's horrible. Traumatic brain injury, that's known as TBI, neck and back disc herniations, broken bones, damages to internal organs. It just goes on and on. You're really looking at the reason that the injuries are so severe is it's a matter of physics. You have a big truck that weighs, maybe carrying a load that could be 60,000 pounds versus a car, and just it doesn't go well for the car. So, or the occupants of the passenger vehicle. So just a little side note, don't drive too close to trucks. Don't drive in their blind spots.
Yeah.
Don't drive in their blind spots. Don't drive behind them. Don't cut in front of them and brake suddenly. There are a lot of professional truckers out there that are safe, but we all have a responsibility on the road. So please be safe.
I've seen sometimes where I'm always shocked where people, if they're passing a truck, how quickly they go back into that right lane. Like, give them some space, like move forward a little bit and then move over. There's no rush to get over. But I've noticed that for whatever reason, people do that much worse with trucks than cars.
Unfortunately, like I've said before, there are a lot of idiots and a lot of assholes. So please protect yourself and your families from them.
We're gonna change the name of this podcast.
Okay. I have to give credit to George Carlin, the comedian. I think he came up with that concept.
He has some really funny stuff on driving and people. Yeah, absolutely. But
I think he said anybody that's they're in front of you and they're going too slow, they're a effing idiot. And anybody who's driving on your tail, they're an effing asshole.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. So what are some of the specific challenges in proving liability in truck accident cases?
Once again, a lot of overlap with the process of any motor vehicle crash, but there are added layers and added complexities with a truck crash. Once again, you're dealing with physics, the big versus small, big vehicle versus small. So usually the damages are much worse. But your question is more along the lines of proving liability. So in any motor vehicle crash case, or whether it could be a motor vehicle crash case, it could be a premises liability case, a medical malpractice case. There are really two parts of a case. There is the first part, which is the negligence or the fault. Okay. And then the second part is your damages, your injuries, and you have to prove that those injuries were caused by the other person's fault. So the liability part in truck crash cases. So some of the challenges are we need to secure the vehicles as quickly as possible. So when a client comes in, we want to get an evidence preservation letter issued to, we need to research and see, well, which vehicles were involved. If it was a bad crash, if it was a fatal crash in Maryland, usually the Maryland State Police are going to come out and they're going to have one of their crash reconstructionist experts, or one or more, prepare not just your standard motor vehicle crash report, a police report, but they're going to prepare a detailed crash investigation report, a DCIR. And these things could be 40, 50 pages long with photographs, testing of the vehicles and all that. So we want to get our hands on that. We also, we want to get our hands on the truck. We want to know where the trucks are. So you have a truck, it's going to have a tractor. That's the front part. It's going to probably have a trailer. And we want to find out who owns them. There are databases. There are resources that we have in our office so we can track down who owns these vehicles. The trucking companies are regulated. The trucks are regulated, not just at the state level. Like most cars, passenger cars, you have the state laws that apply, but in trucking cases, you have federal laws that apply, and there's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. That it's a book that you can see. It's got tons of regulations about vehicle weights and driver safety and truck maintenance and all those things. So the trucking companies have to comply with those. So back to the challenges, we secure the vehicles, we find out where they are, we set up inspection, we hire crash accident reconstructionist experts, very expensive. We take this on because it's necessary to secure that evidence. So we have our crash reconstructionist experts will analyze the trucks, the tractors, the trailers. They'll take pictures, they'll do videos, they'll download information from the electronic data recorders, the EDR. That's basically black boxes. Believe it or not, it's not just trucks that have black boxes. Most cars, modern passenger cars have black boxes. They don't record. They're not going to record everything, but at least the last 5 seconds for the cars, they'll record what leads up to the crash, braking activity, acceleration activity, turning activity, all those things. They want to get that data. So we need to secure those vehicles. That's a challenge. Our crash reconstructionist experts are going to look at the wheels, the tires, the electrical systems, the braking system. So they'll take care of all of that. And preserve that and be ready to prepare reports for us and to testify in court if it's necessary, if the trucking company and or their insurance companies contest or dispute fault or liability. We're ready to go all the way on these things. So we're lining up that evidence and information. Another challenge is also determining who owns the vehicles. And like I said before, there's the tractor part of the vehicle, the trailer part of the vehicle. There may be different owners. Oftentimes there are. There may be somebody that's hauling a load for somebody else. There may be brokers involved. So we want to make sure we nail down everybody to hold whoever was at fault, hold that person responsible. So yeah, that's very important to do.
You know, you've talked about how there's a lot of similarities, obviously, between passenger, regular auto accidents and the trucking accidents. But can you talk about some of the differences in the legal process when it comes to, someone's injured in a trucking accident versus if someone was injured in a regular auto accident case?
There are more similarities than differences. It's maybe just on a larger scale. So like I said, there are federal regulations involved with trucks, and that may not exist in state law. So we want to look at, we rely heavily on our trucking experts or crash reconstructionist experts to tell us, okay, well, this truck lost control because the brakes were bad or the tires were bad. And we'll look at the logs of the drivers. Some of the cases that we've had with the drivers have been driving for too long. So who do they work for? Who are they hauling for a particular company? You can't just rely on what it says on the side of the truck. That's a big thing. People say, "Oh, I got hit by United States Postal truck or an Amazon truck." And just because it has some name on the side does not mean that that person owns the vehicle or employs the driver. So we want to really look deep. And then there are some times where instead of, let's say, a passenger vehicle crash, where you might have one owner, the driver may be the same as the owner. So if we have to pursue that, we have one person to pursue. Whereas in a trucking company, some of these companies have multiple. They have parent companies, subsidiaries, and they kind of play this shell game where they hide who's responsible. So we really sometimes have to pull out the shotgun and really cast a wide net to make sure we get the responsible person or persons, companies, and so forth.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. Like when you're addressing cases where multiple parties, such as the trucking company, the driver, the maintenance service, may be at fault for a serious trucking accident, how do you go about, piecing that together and figuring out who's at fault and constructing a case properly?
It's this thing that's sitting on top of my neck right here. It's my common sense, like 30 years of experience, questioning things, questioning people, digging and getting the answers. And the legal process allows us to discover information. We can, if a case is in litigation, meaning in the court process, we can conduct discovery. We can subpoena records. We can force parties to the case to turn over records. We can get records from all different places, government agencies. We can take testimony by means of depositions of people drivers, owners, safety people, and really get to the bottom of things.
In cases of severe injuries for trucking accidents, obviously you want to get compensation for your clients for medical costs, but there's more to it than that. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode. There's long-term care, lost wages, pain and suffering. When you're dealing with a big trucking company like this, how do you work to ensure that the victims are compensated fairly for everything?
Sure. Well, like I've said in another podcast, I believe, we gather evidence. We gather the evidence as far as proving fault. So the inspection of the vehicles, the looking on the databases to see prior violations of the trucking companies, and doing our normal thing, crash reconstructionist to help us prove what the fault was. That's the first part of the case. That's the negligence, proving the fault. But then getting to the damages, we dig in like we would in any serious motor vehicle crash case, anything where anybody's hurt. We look, what are my clients' injuries? What are their damages is the legal term. So it could be past medical bills, present medical bills, future medical bills, wages, past, present, future. If the person, God forbid, is paralyzed or needs a lifetime medical care, we hire experts, life care planning experts to help us determine the value of a life care plan. I mean, do you know how much it costs? Let's say it was a child that was injured and needed care for the rest of their life, whether through, not that this is the subject of this episode, but with a birth injury, if a child was injured in a car crash or a truck crash. It's just incredible how much it costs for medical care, and then multiply that times a life expectancy of 80 years or so. Nurses every day, medical appointments, modifying houses. We just gather all of that evidence. We hire the necessary experts. We get our witnesses together. We put the pieces of the puzzle together, and we present. Once we have that all together, we present it to the insurance company or insurance companies, depending on how many are involved. and say, this is the value of what was taken from my client or my client's family. This is the value. And how much insurance do you have? And do you have enough insurance to take care of this? And we try to resolve the case with the insurance companies through negotiation. And if we cannot do that, if they don't make a fair offer, then like I've said before, I put on the suit and tie and go to battle. We go to battle, and either they're going to settle it for a fair amount, or we're going to have the judge or jury of my client's peers make that determination for them.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, no doubt. Well, thank you for tuning in to Greene Light for Justice, saving the world one case at a time. To connect with Michael and the team, call 800-238-4960, and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review if you can. Michael, great seeing you again. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.